Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Hope everyone's doing great. Anyway, I've had a couple requests to let people know what I'm drinking in these crazy COVID times. I thought the best way to let you know that would be to quickly run through the bottles I've had since this whole situation started. Luckily, I have them all cataloged because I have not gone to return my empties to keep my family safe. But yeah, without further ado, let's hit it. Okay. So this is a Gamay Noir from Beaujolais, Chateau Thivin. This is their entry level Vin d'Ecusol. Exactly what you'd expect from an entry level Gamay. It is not a Nouveau. Um, it- Classic carbonic flavors, bubblegum, cinnamon, a little bit of banana. It was pretty tasty. Not available in the LCBO. I don't know that I would necessarily get it again. Nothing really blew me away about it, but it's kind of what I expected. Okay, next. By coincidence, I actually did have this on International Sauvignon Blanc Day. This is an Italian Sauvignon Blanc from Friuli, which is in the northeast of Italy. Really great. Very aromatic nose, lots of tropical fruit, but still some of that kind of grass green fruit. So maybe not so much mango, but more guava, that sort of thing. Nice acidity. It was not as great on the palate. The flavors were not as intense, but I always find Northeast Italian Sauvignon Blancs are amazing value for money, and I get them wherever I can. It has some sort of weird B designation. I'm not really sure what that is. Great B wine. This was a bit of a dud. This is a Tuscan Chardonnay, kind of cool 70s looking label, Serra de Cocchi. Um, the producer is Pakravan. The story is, I guess, it was an Iranian general had to flee after the Shah fell. So why not go to Tuscany and set up shop? Had a couple other wines from them. Not really impressed. Okay, next we have a Chateau Neuf de Pape, Terre du Laurent. This was very good. You can actually see this crazy face on it. I actually didn't notice that till right now. This was a gift from my dad. This was actually Hundi P Grenache, so none of the other 12 or 13 grapes that are allowed. This was really, really tasty wine. 2012. This is an LCBO wine. I don't know the price point since it was a gift. However, if it's reasonable, I would suggest this is a perfectly typical Chateauneuf de Pop classic Grenache flavors. Sitting not bracingly high, but very nice. This was pretty cool. So this is David Eagle Gamay from Therianthropy. So this is a new Ontario project. Niagara Grapes, 20 Mile Bench, VQA, perhaps my favorite wine region in Canada. And a pretty neat label. The guy's name is actually David Eagle, and here he's got some sort of 70s businessman eagle walking around with wine. Once again, classic Gamay flavors, kind of similar to the Beaujolais that I mentioned earlier. It still didn't blow me away, and I've never really had an Ontario Gamay that's been amazing. Though this one was very, very good. I would put it up there with the best, which would likely be them and Malvois, maybe Cape Spring. Um, and interestingly enough, I know this guy is trying to make this wine in a fairly natural way. It does contain sulfites, but there were, yeah, wild fermentation, unfined and unfiltered. And I think he did a very good job. None of the kind of nasty faults that sometimes get passed along as just effects of natural winemaking. I would definitely buy this again. He has a Riesling that called Claire de Lune. I'm very eager to try. And if the art style looks familiar, it's because there's a lot of natural wine posters, like made for raw wine and that sort of thing, that are similar style. Like it's a famous cartoonist, the name of which escapes me right now. Oh yeah, and the fruit is Wismer? Yeah, Foxcroft Wismer. So if you know Niagara, you know that vineyard. Okay, this is the best bottle I've had the whole quarantine. Peggy and Jean Pascal Braunfoss. This is a Jura Savagnin. This is the Varon. This is from a mixed pack of three different Jura Savanines. Just amazing wine. Definitely had some skin contact. but very refreshing. Not, I wouldn't call it orange, but it's not, a traditional white either. Didn't have that hit you over the head oxidative flavor you often get with Jura whites. It's really intense fruit, really great texture on this wine, if that makes any sense. Amazing with food. 10 out of 10 would buy again. Unfortunately, not available in the LCBO. This was another one, a little bit of a dud. This is a Pommard from Burgundy. This was a bit of a pricey bottle. Pommard is supposed to generally be a heavier Burgundy, and this was not that. This was definitely on the light side. It's still fairly young, 2017. I was just not super impressed by it. The negociant is Vadoisy Kreuzfond, so they don't own their grapes, but I think they're involved in the farming. Yeah, I mean, I can't say I would buy this again. Okay, this was kind of neat. Palaghetto Solone from Tuscany. This was actually a gift from our dear friends Jess and Rob, who brought this back from Tuscany for us. It's a 2014. It's labeled as an IGT Rosso, so some manner of Super Tuscan, probably Sangiovese and Cab Sauv and Merlot or something along those lines, but it is not listed here. Anyways, this was really good. Even being 6 years old, it still benefited from a lot of decanting. Super high tannins, very intense wine. You have to eat this like probably with meat to really enjoy it. Otherwise, it's just going to kind of burn your face off. Okay, this was a special bottle, San Leonardo 2000. So these guys are located up by Lake Garda in the north of Italy, and this is a red wine planted entirely in Bordeaux style, but the winery is very old, like 150 years old. So meaning it's actually a very old Bordeaux blend and has a huge amount of Carmenere in it, which gives it like a very specific kind of green characteristic that you might not get, like green bell pepper, sort of like Cabernet Franc, but not. Compared to other Bordeaux's. Anyway, I bought this bottle at auction actually. So I bought a case of it, and this was the last one I'd been hanging on to, and just a super elegant wine. Could have probably aged it longer, but I think 20 years is pretty good. Definitely had some of those tertiary to kind of dusty notes to go along with still intense black fruit and some of the nice kind of tobacco leather notes as well. We are going in reverse order that I've had these, so I'm going to start forgetting what they actually tasted like, FYI. Alain Jaume Côte de Rhone, entry-level Côte de Rhone. Once again, really nice bottle, fairly good producer. They've kind of got the map on the back where it's from, which is really rare, because Côte de Rhone could encompass anything in the Rhone. And it was very good. Once again, benefited from being open for a bit. This is a 2016 even, so always a good sign. Makes me want to try the nicer wines from this domain. Once again, I'm sure this is largely a Grenache blend, but for sure there was Syrah in this. I do remember that 15% alcohol, bit of a big boy. Syrah definitely balanced out the Grenache, up the acid, so more so than the CNDP that we talked about earlier. So instead of, let's say, the entry level, well, I guess this is also sort of entry level. So this is the Ratti Barolo Marcanesco. I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sure. I tried this at a trade tasting and thought, you know what, this is actually pretty decent for an entry level Barolo. And then I bought this at the LCBO, and I was actually less impressed with this bottle itself. I have another bottle, so I'm going to see if that carries on or not. Pretty intense cherry flavors when I tasted the tasting. This one was a little bit flatter, but did improve after it was open for a day. So perhaps it just needed time to open up. It's their entry-level Barolo, 2015. This was a real surprise and real fun. Rose Hall Run, a Prince Edward County winery. This is their 2013 Chardonnay, and this is actual county fruit. It's not Niagara fruit. This was way too young. Like for a 7-year-old wine from Ontario, I was shocked. Like the acidity was still bracing, still tons of fruit. It was actually a little closed, and then when I had it open for a day, like it just came to life. So unfortunately, this was my last bottle. I wish I had a whole like case of this sitting around so I could age it another 10 years. I do have some newer bottles of theirs that I may now be hanging on to for a longer time than I was planning. Okay, this is fun. You'll notice this kind of like OE style bottle of the Bianco Puglia Calcareous. So a bit of a lower alcohol wine, 11.5%. This is like a hipster wine, I suppose. I'm not exactly sure the grape. It's an IGP Bianco, so it's probably Trebbiano or something. This is supposed to be like a fun, easy drinking wine. It basically accomplished that. It was fun and easy drinking. Not super intense flavor, not as refreshing as I would have hoped for something like this, but certainly if you rolled into a party with this, I'm sure you'd be the talk of the party. The calcareous refers to the calcareous limestone soils, of course, and it's supposed to come through in the wine. I don't know if I necessarily got that, but I've got some other wines from this producer that are not entry level, so we'll see how they develop. Oh, this was nice. This is a Rosé de Zino Mavro. So this is a Greek wine, 2017. Thimiopoulos is the producer. Greek rosés are kind of the opposite of Provence rosés. They're usually more red, more intense, not as just like quaffable. And this was super good. Like super strawberry flavored, but really well balanced wine. Zino Mavro is sometimes called the Greek Nebbiolo, so the Barolo grape. So you sometimes get like that intense acidity and kind of, you can also get some like Herbe de Provence flavors. Anyway, as a rosé, it worked super well. I was super happy with this wine. I'm looking forward to drinking it again. This, another Ontario wine, Pearl Morissette 2012, so an 8-year-old wine, Cabernet Franc, Le Spectateur. I can never keep all the Pearl Morissette different wines straight since they seem to have a lot. Though I'd say this one was a little atypical. It was good, really intense fruit. I don't really remember which fruits right now, but I think they were maybe not quite typical for a Cabernet Franc. So I do wonder if they did blend in their allowable 10 to 15% of something else. The alcohol was very high for a Pearl Morissette wine, 13.5. And it was just very straightforward. It didn't really develop too much in the way of secondary or tertiary flavors. They were there, but not that present. I probably should have drank it a little bit earlier. This was a real treat. This is Champagne Diebolt Valois. I didn't really know anything about this wine. It kind of came in a mixed pack that I bought, and it was super. Not the best champagne I've had in my life, but it would certainly like absolutely mop the floor with your more common Veuves and Moets and what have you. So if you ever see this guy and it's a good price point, I recommend scoring it for your everyday weekday celebrations. This was fantastic. This was a Rias Biaxis, so an Albarino. It makes me want to drink more of this wine. I had this a long time ago, but I remember it being very tasty. So I'm going to try and get more into wines from this region if I have the time. Also, really lovely label. Like that's kind of nice for kind of wine and flower dress. Sorry, I don't remember exactly what else the flavors were, but I remember it was great. And last but not least, I will also leave you with this. This was kind of neat. This was actually a Chilean cider, apple cider, sparkling hard cider, 7.5%. This was super refreshing, super flavorful. Second ferment in bottle, so sort of like a Method Champenoise. And it was actually barrel aged, which is very unusual for which I assume happened before it was put in, but very unusual for a cider. So there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed drinking all these wines, and maybe I'll do it again in another month. Ciao.